Making headlines this hour, President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu says the United Kingdom government prioritized eliminating import tariffs on Maldivian fish products because of the nation's sustainable fishing practice. The parliament includes the motion to remove Deputy Speaker Ahmad Nazim from office in the agenda for its 20th session of this term, scheduled for 31st May. The Maldives reports a notable resurgence in tourist arrivals this month, bouncing back from a significant downturn caused by the ongoing Middle East conflict.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu says on PSM News Nation Chat program that the United Kingdom government prioritized eliminating import tariffs on Maldivian fish products because of the nation's sustainable fishing practice, noting the industry remains a foremost administration priority.
The remarks followed a UK decision on the 20th of May to suspend a 20% tariff on Maldivian tuna imports for 2 years, extending through late 2028. The suspension culminated extensive diplomatic efforts. Securing the removal was a primary objective for Minister of Foreign Affairs Irtisham Adam during her previous tenure as High Commissioner to the United Kingdom and was advanced during President Muizzu's official visit to London. The tariff was initially imposed after the Maldives graduated from least developed country status. Despite transitioning, the nation confronts similar development challenges, making the removal a key bilateral achievement. Among countries exporting tuna to the UK market, the Maldives was the only small island developing state burdened by the tariff. He concluded that the removal will yield immediate economic benefits for Maldivian canned tuna, which is already highly popular and heavily stocked across United Kingdom markets.
The Parliament includes the motion to remove Deputy Speaker Ahmad Nazim from office in the agenda for its 20th session of this term, scheduled for the 31st of May. The motion, submitted on the 14th of May, is being handled under the Constitution and parliamentary rules. The Parliament's General Committee has set the rules for the debate such that 1 hour will be allocated for the debate, with speaking time distributed among political parties. Each parliamentarian will be granted 3 minutes to speak once, while the Deputy Speaker will be given 10 minutes to defend himself. As per Parliament rules, once the motion is introduced, no other business can be discussed until a decision is reached. The Speaker will preside over the session. Although the Deputy Speaker can speak on his own defense, he cannot participate in the vote. The Deputy Speaker will only be removed if the motion is passed by a majority of members present and voting. The Maldives erupts in vibrant celebration as communities across the island nation mark the Eid al-Adha with an extraordinary display of cultural heritage, communal feasting, and traditional festivities that have brought together people from every atoll. Over the past 2 days, Eid celebrations across the Maldives have transformed islands into vibrant showcases of culture, tradition, and community spirit. The festivities began with the cherished Vedamadiung ceremony, where younger community members sought permission from island elders to begin the celebrations, a tradition that reflects the deep respect and unity at the heart of Maldivian society. As night fell, islands came alive with Eid Hulu lighting activities, accompanied by the rhythmic beating of traditional drums and energetic street dances that carried stories passed down through generations. One Eid morning, thousands gathered for communal prayers before joining together for the traditional big feast, where families shared beloved Maldivian dishes in a celebration of togetherness, generosity, and friendship. Throughout the day, the islands echoed with music, dance, and cultural performances. One of the highlights was the colorful Mali parade, where performers in elaborate costumes and painted faces danced through the streets to the beat of drums, entertaining crowds of all ages. Women showcased the elegance of Bandia Jehung, performing graceful synchronized dances in traditional attire, while men participated in lively Dandi Jehun and Langiri performances. The second day of Eid continued the excitement with traditional sport and the popular Bodo Mas Benong featuring giant iron fish structures and dramatic fishing reenactments that honored the Maldives' seafaring heritage. As celebrations continue into the evening with Bodobero drumming and friendly competitions, Eid once again proved to be far more than a religious holiday. It became a powerful celebration of Maldivian identity, culture, and the enduring bonds that unite island communities. According to the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises weekly fiscal development report, the government has allocated more than $337.2 million to subsidies and various forms of assistance in the current fiscal year, representing a substantial increase of $110.2 million compared to the same period last year.
These figures are as of 14th May, representing a staggering 48% increase in social spending over the previous year, underscoring the administration's intensified efforts to support citizens amid challenging economic conditions. The largest portion of this expenditure has been directed towards subsidies, which have reached $142.7 million so far this year, a 77% increase from the $77.8 million dispersed during the equivalent period in 2025. The government has attributed this dramatic surge to rising oil prices linked to ongoing tensions in the Middle East, which has created significant pressure on global commodity markets. The ministry emphasized that these subsidy programs have been essential for maintaining stability in the prices of basic goods and services, thereby shielding consumers from the full impact of volatile international market conditions. Following subsidies, block grants to local councils constituted the second largest category of expenditure, with more than $64.9 million dispersed to councils thus far this year. This figure represents a 45.7% increase compared to the $46.6 million provided during the same period last year. Additionally, other grants and assistance programs have received more than $64.9 million in the current year, up from $41.5 million in the previous year. In contrast to the significant increases observed in subsidy and grant categories, healthcare and welfare spending has remained relatively stable. The Asanda Universal Healthcare Scheme recorded expenditures of $52.1 million this year, nearly matching last year's figure of $52.3 million. Similarly, direct healthcare spending saw a modest decrease, with $5.9 million allocated this year compared to $7.3 million in the same period last year.
The Maldives reports a notable resurgence in tourist arrivals this month, bouncing back from a significant downturn caused by the ongoing conflict in the Middle East.
According to the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation, 122,548 tourists have visited the island nation so far in the current period, representing a 2.6% increase compared to the 119,468 visitors recorded during the same timeframe last year. This marked recovery signals renewed confidence in the Maldives as a premier travel destination and demonstrates the effectiveness of collaborative efforts between the government and industry stakeholders to restore the country's vital tourism sector. The past 2 months presented substantial challenges for the Maldives tourism industry, as the Middle East conflict severely disrupted flight operations for several major carriers. Qatar Airways, Emirates, Fly Dubai, and Etihad Airways all suspended or reduced services to the archipelago, creating a ripple effect that limited accessibility for millions of potential visitors. These disruptions resulted in an average shortfall of around 4,000 tourists per day compared to historical norms, prompting concern that the economic implications for a nation where tourism accounts for a substantial portion of gross domestic product. However, the situation has improved dramatically as affected airlines have progressively resumed their flight schedules to the Maldives. The restoration of these critical aviation links have reconnected the island nation with key source markets across the Middle East, Europe, and beyond. daily tourist arrivals have rebounded to an average of 6,286 visitors, approaching pre-disruption levels and providing welcome relief to resort operators, travel agencies, and the broader hospitality ecosystem that depends on consistent visitor flows. The ministry has highlighted the collaborative approach undertaken to accelerate recovery, emphasizing close coordination with airline partners, tourism operators, and international marketing initiatives designed to maintain the Maldives' visibility in competitive global travel markets. As global travel patterns normalize and tourist confidence strengthens, the island nation appears well positioned to reclaim its standing as one of the world's most sought after vacation destinations, according to industry experts.
According to Managing Director Muhammad Afif Hussain, Fenaka Corporation Limited is targeting the completion of a substantial portfolio of development projects by the end of this year.
In an interview with PSM News, Afif outlined initiatives to fortify executive management and implement strategic frameworks aimed at rehabilitating the utility provider's operational standing. Upon assuming his role, Afif discovered that the corporation's operational health was an exceptionally low tier. Pre-existing instability within the corporate financial system introduced significant hurdles to the execution of nationwide development initiatives. The company is now conducting systematic evaluations to pinpoint necessary operational shifts and implement reforms to its corporate architecture. Beyond its foundational mandate to supply electricity, water, and sewerage utilities, the enterprise has assumed a substantial portfolio of public sector investment program initiatives. The corporation is managing 48 projects across 35 islands, according to Afif. Operations on 6 islands have reached completion, while construction on an additional 6 is advancing at an accelerated pace. Contractual obligations further encompass regional police posts, educational facilities, and hospital buildings. Afif reaffirmed the organization's commitment to finalizing these ventures, asserting the firm is pursuing every avenue to fundamentally restore and retain the trust of the public. The corporation faces logistical obstacles, including difficulties in procuring essential construction materials and recruiting qualified personnel to the outer atolls. Despite these challenges, the firm remains focused on finalizing these initiatives to solidify public trust.
Managing Director of the Maldives Tourism Development Corporation Public Limited, or MTDC, says development work on the tourist resort of Nagoshi in the Hadal Atoll is advancing rapidly.
On-site work began in the first quarter of this year, Niaz noted on a PSM News broadcast. Blueprint revisions were required because 12-year-old structures had severely deteriorated. A prolonged planning phase was also necessary due to a late 2025 site assessment and recent amendments to the Maldives Tourism Act. Current operations include transporting materials, installing an electric grid, deploying temporary labor accommodations, constructing a desalination plant, and finalizing mock-up rooms. Local councils are providing substantial assistance. Initially allocated to MTDC in 2006, the island faced repeated development delays under subsequent leases to Russian-backed Greek International Private Limited and Dubai's Kaladari Holdings. Following these setbacks, the administration of President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu prioritized the project, prompting the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises to secure financing through the Bank of Maldives. The strategy divides the project into 2 phases. The first phase focuses on finalizing 183 rooms spanning beach, jacuzzi, and overwater villas to bring the resort into full operation by early next year. Slated as one of the largest tourism islands in the Maldives, Nagoshi is projected to generate approximately 600 jobs, providing an economic infusion that the government anticipates will broadly benefit the Hadal Atoll.
Maldives Innovation and Digital Company, or MINDCO, says the OneGov platform now provides over 400 services and more than 300 public information items from 23 government agencies. According to MINDCO's Managing Director Saida Umar, the government working to further streamline the services offered through the platform. The OneGov platform is designed as a one-stop digital portal that brings government services from multiple institutions into a single system. It was originally launched in 2023, starting with services from 5 agencies, mainly focused on business-related services. While the number of participating agencies later increased to 26, it has since been adjusted to 23 due to changes in the government's administrative structure. Saida said the government aims to significantly expand the platform with a target of bringing around 70% of government services onto the platform this year, as well as delivering 40% of local council services through OneGov. Insights into business. EU tech regulators say Chinese online retailer Temu is fined $232 million for not doing enough to stop the sale of illegal products following the first part of a wide investigation.
Further penalties could follow in the coming months as a result of a nearly 2-year investigation under the Digital Services Act that requires large online companies to do more to tackle illegal and harmful content on their platform.
Today, Temu has received a fine of 200 million euro for breaching the Digital Services Act. Temu reaches 130 million consumers in the European Union, but the company has not properly assessed the risks of illegal products being sold on its marketplace. What products are we talking about? Dangerous toys for kids, small electronics without proper label, clothes and jewelry containing harmful chemicals, to name just a few.
EU regulators investigated Temu following complaints by Pan-European Consumers Organization BEUC and 17 of its national members. The European Commission, the EU executive, said the company failed to diligently identify, analyze and assess the systematic risk of illegal products sold on its platform and the resulting harm to consumers in the European Union. It criticized Temu for not properly assessing how its recommender systems and product promotion programs by affiliated influencers could amplify the risk of sales of illegal products. The Commission gave Temu until August 28 to deliver an action plan that regulators will assess, with a decision on whether the company has done enough to comply with the DSA due in 2 months' time.
Updates on world affairs. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, says it is very important that Ukraine and Russia are pushed to talk to each other following a meeting of the bloc's foreign ministers to discuss strategy for any potential peace negotiations and who could mediate.
Kallas said Europe could never be a neutral mediator in such talks because it is on Ukraine's side.
One thing is very clear. Europe will never be a neutral mediator between Russia and Ukraine because we are on Ukraine's side and we are defending our own core security interests.
She added that the latest strikes on Kiev show Russia still shows no genuine interest in peace and an unconditional ceasefire is a prerequisite for any kind of peace negotiations.
As the latest strikes on Kiev have shown, Russia still shows no genuine interest in peace, which was also the clear view of the ministers today. Moscow's direct threat to kill foreign diplomats in Kiev is a public announcement of a war crime.
The EU foreign policy chief also said any EU efforts need to be complementary to the efforts of the United States in any negotiations.
Who could be mediator? I think it is very important that we push Ukraine and Russia to talk to each other, because there are so many issues where only they can decide and nobody else. There can be countries that do this shuttle diplomacy, but in the end it has to be them who sit down on these issues that only they can decide.
Kiev is pushing for more European involvement to help end the more than 4-year war, with the United States focused on its conflict with Iran. The Kremlin said that Russian President Vladimir Putin was open to negotiations with Europe, the RIA news agency reported. Earlier this month, President Vladimir Putin suggested that former German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder, who had described the Russian leader as a personal friend, could represent Europe in possible talks. European government rejected that proposal, with Hellas restating that position on Thursday and foreign ministers saying Russia will not get to choose who represents Europe in any potential talks with Moscow.
Moving on to sports, Iran's ambassador to Mexico, Abul Fazl Pasandadeh, visits Tijuana and took the opportunity to thank President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo for accepting the proposal to host the Iranian delegation, noting that the United States had failed to fulfill its responsibility to host the team.
The Iran's ambassador to Mexico noted that World Cup host countries are obligated to issue visas to both the national teams and their fans so they can accompany their teams, and said that so far those visas has not been issued. Iran's national soccer team will sleep in Mexico and travel to the US on the days of its 3 World Cup matches after Washington declined to host the squad for the tournament, Sheinbaum said on Monday. Sheinbaum said FIFA approached her government after US authorities said they do not want Iran staying in the country throughout the June 11th to July 19th competition, even though Iran is scheduled to play 3 Group G matches there. Mehdi Taj, head of Iran's Football Federation, said during the weekend the team's base would be moved from Arizona to the Mexican border city of Tijuana during the tournament. FIFA confirmed the move on Monday. Iran is due to face New Zealand in Los Angeles on June 15th, Belgium in Los Angeles once again on June 21st, and Egypt in Seattle on June 26th.
Yoshiki, co-founder of the Japanese rock band X Japan, returns to the American stage this summer for 2 nights at Walt Disney Concert Hall, his first U.S. concerts since undergoing his 3rd cervical spine surgery in late 2024.
The July 16th and 17th shows, titled Scarlet Night and Violet Night, are what Yoshiki calls the next chapter of a new world tour. Each night carries a different set list and emotional register.
So the first night goes Scarlet Night. The second night is called Violet Night. It's like I'm gonna be kind of transition. So it's like still like a healing process from my surgery, and then so resilient of like. So Scarlet Night is more like I don't know, my image is very kind of bloody, intense, still in the pain. Then Violet Night is going to more leaning towards the future, something like that. I want to describe how I went through for the surgery process and then coming back.
The procedure kept him off the road for more than 2 years. He had pushed through Paris Fashion Week and a string of dinner shows before the operation, and spent much of 2025 in rehabilitation after doctors warned that returning too quickly after his 2nd surgery had caused a spinal implant to fail.
I have a lot of pain in me, so instead of just having pain inside, I try to release it in a good way. Art, because there's art, I can still, describe my feeling. I can paint, kind of like painting my feeling through music.
Yoshiki, 60, has lived in Los Angeles for nearly 3 decades and describes the Disney Hall dates as a homecoming. The concerts will mix classical piano with orchestral arrangements and ex-Japan material, and will include drumming, the instrument he had credited with contributing to his spinal damage. It is a crossover he has deliberately cultivated. Last week, Yoshiki was invited to play on stage in Japan with the iconic American musician Diana Ross during her first Japanese tour in more than a decade.
And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ail from PSM News.